Kumo DTV, man, back with another one. Right now, we're going to get into how the Syrian government and the Kurdish SDF are supposed to merge together. It is currently past the deadline. They're having talks on it. This video is from 5 days ago. I'm seeing on AP that they had a discussion which was from 2 days ago, but there's no video, so we're gonna get into this video actually and see what they have to say about this, because I don't know, the Kurdish people, you know, kind of deserve their own sovereign nation, but this just drags them farther away from that, I believe. I don't think that integration would, I don't think that would help them in any way. They, in my opinion, should stay independent, but that would continue fighting probably, because I'm pretty sure they are having some type of issues and civil war type beef with the official government, and then they also have to worry about ISIS as well, because despite what Trump says, they are still alive and well and meddling in the region. So let's get into this one.
And the deadline for Kurdish SDF fighters to fully integrate into the Syrian army has now passed. Syria says the talks with the group have produced no tangible results, and Turkey is saying that it backs Damascus if Damascus chooses now to move against the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces. The Kurdish-led SDF is supported by the U.S., and it controls key areas of eastern Syria, including oil fields. It is led by the Kurdish People's Protection Units and Arab fighters. It dismantled ISIL's final stronghold in Raqqa City in eastern Syria in 2017. It controls parts of Aleppo and a quarter of Syria. 900 U.S. troops are stationed in its territory to help prevent a resurgence of ISIL. Rob Geist-Pinfold is a lecturer in international security at King's College London. He joins us live from London. Rob, set the scene for us. Just how important is it really to Syria's future that the SDF, who control a quarter of the country, actually integrate into the national army?
Well, Cyril, it is absolutely critical for the building of a new and stable Syria. I think it's worth mentioning that what happens in eastern Syria does not stay in eastern Syria.
See, this is the problem. They're sitting here talking about Syria and Syria's stabilization and sovereignty, but what about the Kurds? It's like we help the Kurds and leave them out to dry, and they have no nation, but they control more than enough land to have their own nation. But there's all of these countries that are not going to allow that, or they would just wind up having to go to war with multiple countries versus them, I guess, which, I mean, they kind of already are at war with multiple countries, and they control a vast amount of land, to where, I mean, they basically have their own nation, but it's just not on paper.
Yes, these discussions and disputes are between the Kurdish-led SDF, the central government in Damascus, and also to a degree Turkey. But there are other groups in Syria who are watching to see what the outcome of these negotiations and these tensions will be. You have, of course, the Druze spread throughout Syria, but particularly in Suwaida in southwestern Syria, who are pushing increasingly for a degree of federalism or even separation. You also have the Alawites in western Syria, in the coastal regions, who also do not trust the central government. And there have been increasing calls for Alawite separation from Syria and even an alliance with Israel. So what happens in eastern Syria is absolutely critical for the country.
Yeah, I didn't know that about the Alawites, but I know the Druze are also, sticking their hand out to Israel and things like of that nature. there's been a bunch of Druze integrated into the IDF, and I'm assuming other Israeli forces, and they've had control of part of Syria for a number of years. Let's see real quick. When did Israel, not say obtain, occupy. Israel took control of the Golan Heights in the 6-Day War. Okay. And then they annexed it with the Golan Heights Law in 1981. A move not recognized internationally. Syria attempted to retake it in 73 in the Yom Kippur War, but failed. And this is the type of stuff Trump is recognizing for Israel. He recognized the Golan Heights as a part of Israel, which it's not a part of Israel, it's a part of Syria. But I'm pretty sure most of the people there, if not all the people there, are Druze, and they face their own trials and tribulations in Syria to the point where they're willing to, just integrate now. So, well, most of them are willing to just integrate now. But yeah, and then there's other Druze that are still in Syria, or what is recognized as Syria by Israel, that are probably, willing to do the same thing. Well, not probably, they are willing to do the same thing. And then now I'm hearing there is Alawites trying or thinking about doing the same thing. So that would just cause, civil unrest in Syria. And the Kurds, honestly, they should just give them their own country and this wouldn't be a problem. But I think they control a large number of the oil, so that's what the main issue is here.
Future. No one wants an escalation. That's in no one's interest, be that Turkey, Damascus, or the SDF. But as we've passed that deadline now for the integration of the SDF, that's failed to occur. The discussions and debates are continuing. We're hearing increasingly hardline rhetoric from both sides. This suggests that the basic key fundamental issues remain unresolved. How will the Kurdish regions be integrated? What will that look like? And how will a framework be devised where Kurdish Syrians feel that their rights are upheld, but at the same time the government feels that it is actually exercising its sovereignty, not just in eastern Syria, but throughout the country?
Rob, the Kurds are resisting this. We've established.
Okay, yeah, just for people that don't know, we're gonna look at this right here. So I don't know how accurate that is, because that is a lot of Turkey that they have on that map. I guess that is accurate. Hopefully this is a safe website. But yeah, see, as you can see, this is basically Kurdistan. I mean, they're in Iran, Iraq, Syria, Turkey. I mean, the other map that I saw was like a little bit of Armenia, but you can see right there, they're kind of in, Turkey, Georgia border, a little bit in Azerbaijan. So, I mean, they have a large region. This is large enough to be its own country, but none of these nations on the outside are ever going to allow that to happen. especially Syria, being that they control the oil fields over here. I believe they control some oil fields in Iraq as well. When is this map from? Yeah, see, I mean, I guess this red is a little bit of where they are as well, but not as strong. But this solid red is definitely their territory. I don't see a date. Yeah, but that's Kurdistan basically, you know. They deserve to have their own nation. I mean, they control all of this. That is way too big of an area to not be recognized on the world stage, especially when the United States helps these people or gets, kind of helps them, but they're actually helping us. They have helped us on the war on terror quite a bit, and they have fought alongside our troops for decades at this point. So for us to not fight for them in the UN and fight for them to be recognized as a sovereign nation is really just, I don't even know what to say. It's just despicable behavior. How can you not fight for that?
That they were, but it's understandable to an extent because they were persecuted under the previous regime of Bashar al-Assad and the fear that that could happen again. They ended up under Assad controlling their own territory. They now have a quarter of Syria. They control themselves. Why would they give that up?
Well, you're right, Cyril. And it's, as I say, it's not just the Kurds that distrust the central government, it's other minority groups as well. And this is the problem here. The Syrian government has to prove that it is not sovereign in name only. It's sovereign in practice as well throughout all of Syria. But it has to exercise sovereignty in a way that includes minorities and doesn't foment or exacerbate sectarian tensions, as we saw in other parts of Syria throughout last year. And this is the core and the crux of the issue here. As you say, the Kurds feel like they have exerted significant resources. They paid a high price in blood.
Someone please tell me if I'm missing something here, or if these are two different words, or what am I doing wrong? Because every person I hear from America, they say sovereignty, sovereign nation, and everyone from the UK, I always hear them say sovereignty, sovereignty. Are they just saying sovereignty in a weird way, or is this a completely different thing? Like, what is this?
They fought against ISIL in order to establish an autonomous, basically an autonomous republic in eastern Syria. They are not keen on giving that up. However, they know that a confrontation with Damascus is not in their interest. It raises the specter of sectarian violence. It means that Turkey is likely to intervene. And it's also worth mentioning that we talk of the SDF as a Kurdish group, but the majority of its fighters, around 2/3 of its fighters, are actually Syrian Arabs. So there's a question as to how much those groups will actually want to fight a fellow Sunni Syrian Arab regime in Damascus, or whether they might want to fold into that government there. So the SDF does not want to see fighting. Turkey does not want to see fighting, because that would mean that it would be on a collision course with the US. It would undermine all of its work that it's put into Syria so far, in causing instability in the country, and it would also imperil its outreach to the Kurds. Remember that President Erdogan recently came to an understanding with the PKK, where the PKK would disarm and disband. Any confrontation with the SDF would imperil that outreach to the Kurds as well, which is a core pillar of Turkey's grand strategy.
Okay, so Rob, I've set you. This was a trap. I've set you up for this next question, which is I'm not sure it has an answer. You've explained to us that Turkey's unity requires that the SDF integrate into the army. You've also explained to us that the SDF have no reason to do that. They have no real big incentive to do that. So can this get fixed?
It's a very, very difficult problem to fix. It can get fixed. We saw that both sides agreed in March last year to fix this. The devil is in the details. Both sides signed on paper formally saying that we want the SDF to fold into Syria. That was a huge move, significant progress. The question is what this would look like on the ground. The Syrian government basically wants the SDF's armed forces to integrate and be spread throughout the Syrian armed forces. So basically taking apart the command and control structures of the SDF and spreading them throughout the Syrian army. The SDF wants something more along the lines of autonomy and to keep its existing command and control structures. It still doesn't trust the central government. It still feels like it needs that army. It has no incentive, as you suggest, to disband. What's likely to emerge if we get there is something along the lines of a compromise where some of the SDF units, particularly the Arab SDF units, do fold into Damascus's control, and the Arab-dominated areas of SDF territory do the same, whereas the Kurdish areas and the Kurdish-led parts of the armed forces could see more of an autonomous structure.
I think he's thinking about this completely wrong, because I'm pretty sure they don't have just like, oh yeah, you're an entire Arab unit and there's only Arabs in this unit. I'm pretty sure it's just mixed throughout. There's a unit and you're assigned to this unit, and there's Arabs, Kurds, and whoever is a part of the movement put in whatever unit. I highly doubt they're like, oh yeah, this will be a specific Arab unit and this is a Kurdish unit, and that will be an Arab-run territory and this will be a Kurdish-run territory. I mean, they're all fighting the same cause. They're all believing in Kurdistan, and they're the Kurdish-led forces. I mean, if there's Arabs in that movement, then I'm pretty sure they're not gonna fold, but who knows? I mean, it's possible. And then he's saying they're gonna fold because it's a Sunni-led regime now. I mean, just because Bashar al-Assad was an Alawite doesn't mean anything. There was still Sunnis throughout the country, throughout the government. The entire government structure wasn't only Alawites. There's still Sunnis involved in everything. There's still Sunnis in the military. Like, they've been fighting Sunnis this entire time. They're not just gonna fold now because the leader's Sunni now. Like, what? And then the leader used to be a terrorist. So now he's not all of a sudden. Well, I'm not even gonna say terrorist, because he was part of actual terror groups. Some of these other groups maybe not be that they just get the label put on them, but he was a part of actual terror groups. He was a part of, I'm pretty sure he was a part of Al-Qaeda and ISIS, which they're now calling ISIL. He's a part of both of these groups, high-ranking leadership. So I just don't understand what he's saying. I don't think it's accurate.
Structure where they exercise a degree of federalism within a Syrian state whilst proclaiming loyalty to it. That's the current framework. What we heard before talks broke down again is that the Syrian government were willing to let 3 SDF battalions stay intact, Kurdish-led battalions in Kurdish-majority areas. The problem now is breaking this impasse and getting us back on the right track. This will require significant and sustained mediation from the key player here, whom no one wants to get on the wrong side of. That's the US under President Trump.
All right, Rob Geist-Pintful joining us from London this hour. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you.
Don't miss out and get...
Okay, yeah, so in my personal opinion, I don't think they should integrate. I feel like that would be a bad move for the Kurdish people and the sovereignty they're trying to obtain. That would just push back everything that they've gained so far. They would just give up everything they've been fighting for years, and that is just pointless. Why would you give up everything you've been fighting for, your entire life's work, your entire movement. This is what you live and die for. So I don't see it happening. I don't think they're going to cede control of what they have. It's too great, and they don't have any incentive to do so. So that's it for this one. Kumo DTV everywhere. Kumo Cast on YouTube. Follow, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. I'm out.